Thank you, Valerie. Hello, and welcome to the September 28th, 2022 meeting of the Oak Grove Community Council. My name is Joseph Edge. I'm the chair, and I will be facilitating the meeting tonight. And so first up, what I would like to do is ask our board to introduce themselves. And so I'll stop sharing just briefly so we can do that. Again, my name is Joseph. I live in the River Forest neighborhood, and I am the chair. Valerie, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Valerie Chapman, and I live on Evergreen, just a block and a half from the trolley trail, and I am the vice chair.
Jane, could you introduce yourself, please?
Jane Civiletti. I live on Fair Oaks Avenue, and I am the treasurer. Mark?
Rich?
Oh, Rich.
Did you say Rich?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is Rich Nippon. I live on McCartney Lane, which is 3 blocks due south of the Fred Meyers.
And Mark. You are muted, Mark.
Oh, there you go. I thought I had done it. Sorry. I'm Mark Elliott, and I live on Riesling Road, just south, north of Concord Road.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to keep everybody muted unless you have the floor. And I ask you that once you do, if you do have the floor and you do speak, please mute yourself when you're done. I'm going to go through and ask everybody to introduce themselves. And so when I call on you, please say your name and the name of the street that you live on so that we can capture your attendance for the record. First off, I'll start with Alexa.
Hi there, my name is Alexa Morris. I work for Oak Lodge Water Services, and I'm here tonight to do a presentation for you guys. So with Heidi, and I live in Jennings Lodge.
Sarah McClurg, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Officer Sarah McClurg, Clackamas County Sheriff, Outreach and Education, and I also will be doing a brief presentation tonight.
Thank you. Anita?
Anita Blackmar, I live on Fair Oaks Avenue.
Thank you. Brad?
Hi, I'm Brad Albert. I am the district engineer with Oak Lodge Water Services and supporting Heidi and Alexa in tonight's presentation.
Awesome, thank you. Chris?
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Simons. I'm on Southeast Whipple Avenue. Good to see you all tonight.
It's good to see you too, thank you. Dave Doback?
Dave Doback, I live at Rose Villa.
Thank you. Heidi?
Yes, Heidi Bullock, pronouns she, her. I am technically in Jennings Lodge between Rothy and Hillside Drive. I'm here on behalf of the Oak Lodge Water Services for the presentation.
Thank you. Marilyn?
Hi, Marilyn Gottschall. I live on Laurie at Rose Villa.
And Pam Horan?
Hi, I'm Pam Horan. I live on Schroeder at can't say it, Rosevilla.
Thank you, welcome. Pamela Ahern?
Pamela.
We can come back to Pamela. Sarah Jo?
Sarah Jo Chaplin. I'm the General Manager at Oak Lodge Water Services, and I'm here to support Director Heidi Bullock this evening.
Thank you and welcome. Suzanne? Oh, you muted yourself again. There you go.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Wolf, and I live on East Avenue.
Thank you. Welcome. Selma?
Hi, Thelma Hagen Miller. I live on the corner of Southeast Southview and Southeast Westview, just south of Concord.
Thank you. Tom?
We are Tom and Jolene Hammond. We live on Viewcrest Drive, just off of Wallace, which is off of Thiessen.
Thank you. And did I see Karen, or did Karen go away? Oh, here comes Karen again. I don't think she's connected to audio yet. Pamela Ahern, did you want to give a chance to introduce yourself? Okay, well, we will, Karen, would you caught us, we caught you just in time. Would you like to introduce yourself? You are muted right now. You will need to unmute before we can hear you.
Yes, Pamela Ahern's my wife's name. I don't didn't quite get that right. It's Fred Sawyer.
Oh, hi, Fred.
And I'm here for two reasons tonight. You may have a little hot report on my solar system, which I go to hearing on. And I want to at some point I want to talk a little bit about the McLaughlin investment plan.
Okay, thank you. Karen, did you want to introduce yourself?
Karen Oberding. I live on Mulberry.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we will jump right in. First up with the officer reports. Our secretary is not here tonight. I did want to just provide the notice. I'll share my screen so that you can see this really quick before we move on. I do want to let everybody know that the OGCC board elections are next February, and all elected positions are open to voting members, and we have the 4 officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer, and 3 director at-large positions that are all open for voting members to for the election next February. So if you're interested in serving, please send an email to contact@oakgrovecpo.org, and we'll make sure that you are considered. And then voting member status for 2023, we are going to need members to attend one of the meetings through the end of the year in order to retain voting status from prior years. And if you need to request a waiver, if you're watching this on YouTube and you need to request a waiver, please send an email to contact@oakgrovecpo.org and let us know. And let's see, up next is our treasurer report. Jane.
Thank you, Joseph. We actually have a change in our balance. There was a bill that came in for our host domain for Oak Grove CPO for $19.99, which brings our current balance to $1,576.19. Thank you.
Would you like to let members know how they can make donations?
They can make donations at any OnPoint bank by simply telling them you'd like to make a donation to the Oak Grove Community Council. Or if you are online, you might be able to do it by transferring funds from your account into another account at OnPoint if you have that ability to work with OnPoint online. Anyone at any of the branch offices will know just how to do that. Any donations are gladly welcomed.
Thank you, Jane. And so up next, I'd like to turn it over to Director Heidi Bullock of the Oak Lodge Water Services Authority, and with a community update.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think Alexa probably will pulling up the presentation. Well, thanks for having us. I've got technical matter experts here, so at any point in time, if there's a question I can't answer, we've got I got backup. So thanks again. This is an update that's following on with some projects that we discussed, I think, earlier, and just to give you an update on where we are today. So some of the topics we're going to cover is the news on the authority. which might not be news for everyone. And then also, so the two projects that we're going to discuss is the Aldercrest water main, and so that's a water main project, and then also some wastewater projects. And then we'll finish with just some community outreach engagement work, update on Fish on the Run and our website changes. Okay, so this is just a quick overview. Most of you are very familiar with the services that Oak Lodge Water Services provides. We provide drinking water from the Clackamas River, and then we also treat wastewater from homes and businesses. That wastewater, once treated, is then discharged to the Willamette River. And then, of course, as part of all of this is we are stewards of the water quality and watersheds and streams and rivers in the area. Next slide. So this is the boundary map. You can find this on our website. There's a mix of homes and businesses. We serve about 29,000 people. This is the water services. And so the news of the authority, on May 5th, Clackamas County Board of County Commissioners approved the transition for Oak Lodge Water Services District to move to an authority. So registered voters elected the first board of that in the special election on August the 23rd. So you probably, that wasn't too long ago, and I'm now one of your board members. Thank you for voting. There was 5 runners and 5 of them. So it's very similar. It's the same board. So there was no changes in the board from moving from the district to an authority. As you know, the elected board, these are the board members. We serve on a volunteer basis, and like you, we live in either the Oak Lodge or Jennings Lodge communities. So just an item of note is we do not plan to change the logo from district to authority. We're going to just remain OLWS, Oak Lodge Water Services, and not differentiate between district or authority. There'll be no changes to that. Okay, first up is the water main replacement project on Aldercrest Road. Right now we're replacing, it's about a 60-year-old water main line, and on Aldercrest. It started earlier this month, and there's about 3,800 feet of pipe being replaced. This is obviously essential to bring in clean and safe drinking water to the community. This investment, we expect it to last about 75 years. So almost as long, if not longer than the initial investment, which was 60-year-old pipe. Wastewater projects. So the two main projects on our docket right now is the tertiary treatment at the water reclamation facility, or the water treatment facility, and also the trunk main capacity project. That is the pipelines that deliver wastewater to the treatment facility. Tertiary treatment project. So this is a project at the water reclamation facility, or the treatment plant. And what this is a third level of treatment that needs to get added on for us to meet discharge standards into the Willamette River. This is a regulatory driven project, and one that's going to continue to protect the Willamette River where we discharge. So the tertiary treatment, like I said, is a third level, and it's just an extra level of treatment. So it's going to remove more plastics, microscopic items, and the like. This will, so there's just more stringent discharge standards, and this will continue to protect wildlife and human health in the river. All right, so so this is a picture. This is an aerial view of the water reclamation facility. So right there to the left with all the green grass, that is slated. We think this is likely going to be the location where we're going to put in the tertiary treatment, the third level of protection there. This had been from 2012, there was an upgrade, and this was intentionally left open just in case we needed to expand treatment. And here we are expanding treatment 10 years later. So that's going to be where we're going to be putting that. So the kinds of treatment and what that might look like, tertiary treatment, a lot of it is filters. There's sand filter. It's several options. There's many options. A lot of them are filters, or different kinds of filters, and also there could be a chemical treatment is another type. And if you have any more questions about, so right now engineering is evaluating all of these types of options, what's going to be most cost effective, but also what is going to be most cost effective to maintain in the long run. So not just putting it in initially, but also what is the cost to keep it running and operational. So that is another major consideration. Next slide. So where we are, this is in the budget. So the budget approval, this is approved budget. Just wrapping up some of the initial planning and the studies. We've done a lot of survey in the field, surveying of the pipes. Or excuse me, I'm jumping ahead to something else, sorry. So there's already been evaluations going on for which treatment option is going to be best suited for our plant, our water, and the discharge standards. So we will be recommending so where they are right now is they're just wrapping up some of those initial studies and evaluations. They're going to be presenting the options to the board, the Oak Lodge Water Services Board, in November. And so pending that presentation, we will probably be able to come back to you early next year in spring to let you know what was selected, what the path forward is likely to look like. And then let's see, again, construction. Yeah, okay. Trunk bank capacity, I was jumping ahead. So trunk bank capacity, this is the pipelines, the pipes that deliver the wastewater to the treatment facility from homes and businesses. So let me make sure I don't miss any of my important notes for you all. So this project started back in May, and we've been doing a lot of in the field work, doing flow surveys, camera surveys, trying to evaluate, just to identify what does the system look like, where are the holes, where are the problem areas. As you know, you should know, maybe you know from some of the newsletters and like, at times in heavy rains, we get some overflows. The capacity of the pipes gets overwhelmed. And a lot of that is from water that comes in and inundates, in addition to the normal wastewater flow, and then it overwhelms our system on the back end, which is the treatment plant. So this is why this project is important. We need to, one, we don't want to have overflows into the Willamette River with untreated water. A lot of that water that does get overflowed is probably clean water mixed in with wastewater, a lot of it because it's from groundwater water. It might also be from just rainwater and stormwater that gets into the system. So some of the options for these pipelines is to replace the lines completely, dig them out and replace them. As you can imagine, you see how deep these pipes lie. They can be 9 feet below grade, and digging down and removing out all that pipe and putting a new pipe is an extremely costly project. But that is one option, brand new pipes. Another option would be to kind of either just put in another pipe that near or below or next to the existing pipe and connect that. Maybe it's a slightly bigger pipe for larger capacity of water flow. Some other options might be to sleeve sections, and it's not reflected here, but put another pipe over the leaking pipe. You could sleeve the pipe. So these are some of the possible solutions, all very costly. So what we've been doing is monitoring the flow to figure out where is water coming into the system. Why is the system not big enough to handle the flow? Is it really just increase in wastewater? Is it that many more toilets? Where's the water coming from? And our belief is that a lot of it is that it's water coming in, like I said, from rising groundwater, and if there's any cracks or holes in the pipe, it's going to come into that pipe. There could also be roof drain connections. Your downspouts might be unbeknownst to you or whomever might be inadvertently attached or connected into the system. So water from roots could be draining into the system, maybe, and maybe some other connection on private property could be connected to the system. So when it does rain hard, it goes right into those pipes in addition to all the wastewater. So this is called infiltration and inflow. I'm sorry. Infiltration would be infiltration from the ground. If there's a pipe with holes and it's broken or cracked, infiltration from the groundwater around or water around the pipe, and then inflow from these other known or unknown sources. So this map, this is a map. Sorry, I got so excited just talking to you all, I lose my place. So this is a map that kind of reflects the studies that have happened in the last few months, which is, like I said, from flow meters put in the pipe to really see where are the high flows coming from, and also TV cameras to see conditions of pipe. And so based on that, the red is identifying areas where the likelihood to fail is less than in 5 years. So that means the condition of the pipe looks poor enough that we think we could see failure in 5 years or less. So it's a way to triage areas to figure out, okay, where are we worse off? Where do we need to address first and put our money first? So this is a nice picture that really kind of shows where some of those areas are. I would just point out, yeah, that you can kind of see a lot of the red is just, a little bit off along that river line. And so, not surprising, a lot of trees grow along the river, there's cottonwoods and the like. And so it wouldn't be surprising that a lot of, and there could be some erosional forces that could impact the, conditions of the pipe. The next slide. So what we've decided based on those areas of red is just, and then also just knowing how the system functions, in that this is the southern part. I'm sorry, can you just go up to one more picture? I'll just do a quick orientation. So this is north is top, south is bottom. So Meldrum Bar Road is down in the southern area. And there we have lift stations, pumps that move that wastewater through the system. And can you point to where the area where the water treatment facility is, which is more north up in there? That's where the water gets treated. So everything from the south end gets moved through pipes and through pumps all the way till it gets to the wastewater treatment plant. So based on those surveys and cameras, we decided to start, and then all that water flows into another pump station and then to another pump station. It just basically gets relayed up and pumped until it gets to the treatment plant. So if there's a lot of red down there, we need to figure if there are flows coming from there, it's going to impact every single pump along the way. So next slide. So we decided to hit that southern part first. This is what's called lift station 5 basin area. And so everything that's highlighted in pink is the basin 5 that gets pumped from the lift station pump 5. So that's the area, Belgium Bar, the south end, and Rothy/Walton Vista at the very top end. So the focus is going to tackle that area first. And what we're going to tackle is to try to reduce the influx of that infiltration and inflow coming in. Because if we fix the area there, there's just going to be less water through the whole system. It might not solve the entire problem, but let's start here. So sorry, next slide. A variety of approaches. Back to what can we do here? Again, there's these all these different kinds of options. They all have different costs and likely all different lifespans. How long will this fix last versus another one? So we don't have all of that figured out yet, but these are what we're going to be evaluating to figure out what the best solutions are. And I suspect that what we fixed down south in lift station 5 might be one method, and then as you move up, depending on what you encounter and what we find, it could be a different. So there could be a hybrid of fixes throughout the system to make it both cost effective and functional. Okay. I feel like I'm going off script, but this is the stuff I like to talk about. So timeline for this wastewater work. The plan, like I said, the planning and the evaluation work is happening now. We are going to do additional flow monitoring this fall and winter when the rains start again. So we will have more flow meters in these pipes, measuring some flow. And then the engineering and design will happen through the winter, early spring, and hopefully construction at that lift station 5. This is limited. We've decided instead of spending all the money fixing the whole entire trunk main, starting in an area, a sub area to begin with. And so that will hopefully happen by next summer. That I will pause. That was a lot of words, and see if anybody has any questions about the engineering work that's happening, or the water project or the wastewater project. And Brad is here to take any really super technical questions if you have them. Jane.
Yes, I did have a question about the Aldercrest project. Is that the reason that the road is closed now to through traffic? And do you have any idea how long it will remain that way?
I believe that
is.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes,
Brad.
sorry. Yes, it is the reason that the road is closed. The location of the new pipe and just the narrowness of Aldercrest really facilitated a closure to through traffic. They have it on the reader boards that it will be back open by Christmas. But what they're doing right now is they're closing the road about 7 a.m. and usually by 5 p.m. it's open back up. So it's usually during work hours that they're closing. They're paving the trench that they're digging every day, so it's nice and passable for evening and nighttime. And so, but there will be intermittent openings too. A portion of it will be on Oatfield for a short time, so then Aldercrest will be open uninhibited. So, but most likely we're aiming to wrap it up, by the holidays. So they are moving quite quickly. The contractor is making great headway right now, and we are, at least for the main line, approaching about halfway for the main line being laid. So we think in the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, all of the main line will be in, and then they'll be going back and putting in services. So they're moving quickly, and they're doing a great job for us.
Thank you.
I also wanted to add, if you'd like to be put on the notification list for when Oatfield's going to be closed, if you put your name in the chat, I can add you to the list so that you can be notified when that's going to be closing temporarily.
Valerie?
Hi, so I just have maybe it's too technical question, but I was looking at your the filtration systems, and you have a couple of different kinds of filtration, the sand and something else. And then you have chemical clarification. And I'm curious about environmental issues related to the chemical part. So I'm just asking if somebody can explain that to me.
It's one of the options. It's not necessarily one that we would prefer at this stage. There are other issues. There are, I would say, more environmentally conscious options. The sand filter, or there's disc filters, or the membranes that you don't have to use any chemical injection. And usually, if you can use those type of treatments, that you're not beholden to a chemical, so it's a little bit more natural, and the operation and maintenance cost is usually a little bit lower. So I think we just showed a variety of all the options that are on the table right now, but I would say that probably wouldn't be as high as on our list initially. So I think what that chemical does is coagulate all those little microplastics and all those little things, so they'll kind of drop out, and we can collect them and we can dispose of them properly. That wouldn't go out into the Willamette River. We would be able to collect that, but then that's just another step that we would have to take, and that's how we evaluate it. If that was our only option, that might be one we would look at, more closely. But I think we have several options that we can look at, and so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Thank
Mark, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you. I had two questions, actually. The first one is on the Aldercrest project. If you are intending to replace any of the water meters at individual homes, that's the first question. And the second one is on the tertiary treatment. As I understand it, that's a multi-year project, right? And that it's going to go through several different budget processes for approval at each step of the way. So just those are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay, the first one with the Aldercrest project, yes, all of the individual water services and meters will be replaced with the project. So there are a handful of ones that are newer, but we've decided that, you have a new pipe, new system, you want everything to be new and functional all at the same time. So that's usually not a large cost to, do those services at the same time. So those will all be replaced as soon as they're putting the main in first, and then they're coming back and putting in the services, and then they're going to come back and do the tie-ins all at the end and charge that line so that we can do the switchovers to each individual house. So yes, the tertiary, to get to your second question, yes, the tertiary treatment is a multi-year project. Kind of the first year is the engineering stage, that's in the budget. And then over the next couple of years is the construction phase. And so some of those, it can be a lengthy construction project as well, so that we can span that over, 2 seasons to get that in, and hopefully be able to, span out the costs over 2 budget years. So it does take a little bit of time to put that in, and that's the way we were able to kind of spread that cost out a little bit. So it wasn't just one big hit all at 1 year. So.
Yes, we just have 2 more slides, and Alexa's going to cover the last 2 slides.
All right. This is the fun stuff, some more fun stuff. Our Fish on the Run Irrigation Done watering campaign. And as our summers are getting hotter, we need to make sure there's enough water in the Clackamas River, which is where we pull your drinking water from, to ensure that there is enough water in there for the fish runs in the fall. So we ask customers that if you could commit to reducing or shutting off outdoor watering in September, that does a lot to help keep that water in the Clackamas. So there's still time to take the pledge. And the picture you see on the screen right now is our yard sign that you'll receive if you make that pledge. And I'll put the link in the chat too, so you can sign up for that now. And then wanted to let you guys know that we're getting a new website. So this is what it'll look like moving forward, starting this Saturday, October 1st. And I wanted to be sure you guys knew that we're getting an updated website, because I don't want you to get there and be like, this isn't my website. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. We're really excited about it. This was built with you in mind, making it easier for you to find information, make it easy to pay online, stop services. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And that is our presentation for this evening. As I mentioned, if you'd like some more information about notifications for construction projects like that Aldercrest project, if you put your email in the chat, I can make sure you get those updates as we progress through that project. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, if anybody does end up putting their email address in the chat, we'll make sure that you guys get that list, even if you've already left.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll be sure to send you
Thank
to
you.
Joseph that notification information too, in case it hits your newsletter at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Mark, quick question.
Yeah, just wanted to ask if there was any further development or information you wanted to share on any future rate increases.
So as Mark had mentioned, we're in the process of doing an engineering on a number of these larger projects. And until we finalize that and been able to look at the budget, we don't yet know what the exact costs are going to be. The board has asked me as general manager and our finance director to work with the state to look to see if there are borrowing and grant options. But before we're able to do that, we need to know exactly what tertiary option the board wants to select and to have a greater sense of some of the costs for the I&I projects. But it may well be that a combination of grants, loans, and the savings that we do through rates will be needed in order to pay for these projects. But we don't know the final numbers yet. But more to come, and definitely the budget committee and the board would be looking closely at the long-term implications for these investments. As Brad talked about with Aldercrest, you're putting in infrastructure that is destined to last a long time. And we have an aging infrastructure replacing 60-year-old pipes. And so there are going to be costs that the community is going to want to have thoughtfully looked at. But on the other hand, pipes are getting older and will need to be dealt with.
Thank you, Sarah Jo. It was good to see you again. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move ahead in our agenda. And up next, I have Captain Sarah McClure from the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, and she has a presentation for us tonight on what the Sheriff's Office is about. Sarah.
Thank you. So I wanted to cover a couple of things. First, I just wanted to go over what we're seeing as far as crime trends. It hasn't changed too much in the past year as far as the kinds of criminal activity that we're experiencing. We're still getting quite a few car break-ins. A good way to try and avoid being victimized by that is lock your door faithfully every single night. Park in your driveway, or better yet, in your garage if you have one, or if you have room. And at the very least, if you have to park on the street or in a driveway, make sure you're removing anything that looks like it might possibly have any value at all. We are just being inundated with car break-ins right now. Likewise, we are seeing a rise and have over the last 2 years in stolen vehicles. You know, they're all shapes and sizes. It used to be that Honda Accords and Toyota trucks were the popular items to steal. We're seeing 4x4s, trucks, motorcycles all of a sudden are flying all over the county. Hard for us to catch these folks. But just be aware of that. Again, make sure that you're locking your car, trying to make it inaccessible. A lot of the stolen vehicles are being stolen out of parking lots. So just be advised, if you are going to, say, the mall or to a store, park in a well-lit area as close to the store as possible. It's better to actually go during busy times rather than slow times. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're seeing that's been picking up quite a bit in the last couple of years. Also, we're still seeing a ton of mail theft, package theft. With the holidays approaching, it's just a good idea to be mindful of that aspect of things. If you can get notifications of when your packages are going to arrive, or if you have a good relationship with a neighbor who can maybe grab stuff off your porch, that would be ideal. But we definitely see a rise in that, especially as we're getting into fall and the holiday months. In addition to that, we unfortunately are seeing still a steady increase in drug use. And right now, most of the time, if we are responding to an overdose, which have really increased over the last couple of years, it's almost always linked to fentanyl at this point. So we are being inundated by fake oxy pills that are laced with fentanyl. So that's definitely something that we are seeing. I carry Narcan with me everywhere as a consequence. I don't know of anybody that I'm aware of in my family or within my circle of friends that might be, overdosing, but you never know. And also there might be just the stranger on the street that collapses, and Narcan really is a miracle worker. It just really has saved a ton of lives, and given, a window of time for proper medical care to begin and keep that person breathing. Those are the big ones right now that we're definitely seeing. I wanted to commit some time this evening, though, to something that's fairly new on our website, which is a landing page for crime stats. So the program is really great. It's really deep. It's got a lot of facility, but it's not exactly intuitive for a lot of people, especially people who are not accustomed to using the internet a lot and looking at stats like this. So I wanted to just do a really quick tutorial. Bear with me. I'm still learning a lot about this program as well. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can get to that. Okay, so let me get this to the proper size. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes, yeah, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. So when you come to our website, this is what you'll see toward the top of the website. And if you scroll down just a little ways, you'll see something called the latest. And one of the things that we are putting out to the public that we encourage you to try looking at is our call activity dashboards. This is a place where you can see calls for service. By definition, what this is literally is calls for service. It's not necessarily tied to criminal activity. It's every response from deputies, desk officers. It also would include visits from parole and probation, civil deputies who are serving subpoenas and so forth. So once you get to this button, just click on it. It will bring you to this tab. So if you'll notice, there's unincorporated, Clackamas County at the top, the ELED, Enhanced Law Enforcement District, and you are in that district for sure. And then we also have contract cities for the city of Estacada, city of Happy Valley, and city of Wilsonville. So you might think that the Enhanced Law Enforcement District is where you want to go to get your data. And I've learned that actually it's a little easier to see what's happening in your neck of the woods by going to the unincorporated Clackamas County. That includes everything that's within the jurisdiction that Clackamas County Sheriff serves. So it's taking a second to come up. There we go. Okay, so right now, this call activity is going back to the very beginning of the year through August. It updates every month at the first of the next month. So as you can see down here by these bar indications, right now we've got it from Jan 1 through the end of August. We will have the new data from September in the system probably by next Monday. So if you want to see the total, these are all the total amounts for the entire county, or at least the areas that Clackamas County Sheriff is responsible for patrolling. This will not include Lake Oswego, Milwaukee, Gladstone, and various other locations like Molalla, which we are not responsible for as far as our patrol. So these are just whole numbers if you are looking at this for the entire county. If you scroll down a little bit further, you can see what they are for. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting rid of that one button. There we go. So, we respond to a lot of alarms, mostly false. There can be a myriad number of different things. Civil, like I mentioned, our civil deputies have responsibilities in the community as well. So that's probably mostly our civil deputies. Behavioral health, we have people that we work with very closely who are behavioral health specialists that either come out and assist deputies with certain calls or go out by themselves. And there are a few that are attached actually to all law enforcement agencies in Clackamas. So that's what those numbers indicate. Assist can be a number of different things, assisting the public, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go over all of these. You can all read. Follow-ups can pertain to somebody sitting down and following up with information on a report or various other things. And then, of course, we have a lot of things that are associated with traffic. We also have folks that are working, well, we have one deputy that works exclusively on Dewey's, and of course, all deputies can stop folks before Dewey's. We also have a marine division, so that might apply to the boat stops here. These are the criminal stats that you're going to see a little bit further down. So theft is always going to be number one, and that applies to every single kind of theft that you can imagine. So that would apply to car break-ins, to mail theft, to shoplifting, to purse snatchers, to walking into a restaurant and failing to pay for your meal. All of those things would be included in this particular category. Domestic violence is usually way up there, and unfortunately, we have seen a bit of an increase during COVID with everyone being shut in. It tended to have a exacerbating effect on that. Trespass, harassment, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all the different things that we're tracking. And I just want you to be mindful that these are simply raw data calls for service. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of these calls relates to a specific crime. This is just all the deputy responses and other people in law enforcement and supporting divisions like BHU. Every single call history is captured. They are going to have the actual crime stats available that's being worked on so that you can see that as well down the road. But we don't have that available yet, but I will tell you the actual number of reported criminal activities is far, far fewer than these big whole numbers that you're seeing. So if you want to see what's happening in your neck of the woods, took me a while to figure this out, so I had to have help from our analysts. So this is not necessarily intuitive either. So if you look at this, you can zoom in to take a closer look, except it's not working very well right now. So the area that applies to you, if you click or if you just hover over various areas in the map that have been outlined, you can tell what areas you're looking at. Here's you. So this is the Oak Grove Community Council area has been captured in this data. So if you only want to look at calls for service there, just click on that and it will populate. And this will just be the calls that have been existing since the beginning of the year, just in the Oak Lodge area. And also to define this a little bit further down, you might wonder why there's a difference in color on all of these bars down here. So there's the dark portion, which is the majority in most situations, but there's also a light portion. So what does that mean? So these are public initiated calls in the dark gray. That means that typically someone has called in and requested a response from a deputy or desk officer. The ones here are going to be indicative of a deputy initiated call. So it might be a traffic stop or assisting a motorist. It might be an observant deputy wanting to check out a suspicious activity or seeing that there's a business is closed, but their door is standing wide open and they want to see why. So in general, what we're seeing in your area is that about a third of the calls are self-initiated and about 2/3 are actually calls for service that come from the community members themselves. If you wanted to just look at August numbers, you can do that. You just click on the bars, whichever section you want to see, and it will populate for you, I believe. But one of the other aspects on this that I just learned today, so you can actually, these are all the months that are covered so far through the end of the year. If you want to see just a specific month, this is a function that I could not figure out for myself, so I had to have direction. So you click on all to get all of the fields to become empty. So now we have no data to look at whatsoever. And say I want to look back at June. So you just click on June, wait for a second, and then it will populate just the calls for June in the area of your CPO. So those are kind of the highlights. There's some other buttons that you can look at if you only want to see high priority calls, which are typically going to be, you know, the more severe calls. Domestic calls are going to fall into this category because sometimes they are very volatile calls, assaults, things of that nature. It's usually going to be something where there's a physical threat. So if you were to just click on that, then you're going to see some data that applies to that. And I may not I don't have expertise on this. I'm still learning it myself, but I encourage you to just play around with it and see what kind of data you can get. Here's call activity by day of the week and hour of the day. So if you wanted to source that, of course, the darker numbers are going to apply to more calls and the lighter colors are going to apply to fewer calls. Ironically, a lot of people would assume that the busiest days of the week are going to be on Saturday, Sunday. Typically, our busier days of the week are, you know, like Monday and Wednesday, which seems odd, but it is true. It is the case. And those are really the highlights I wanted to show you, but I do want to back out real quickly and show you just briefly what you can see on the enhanced law enforcement call activity as well. Pull that up. So this is a map that's going to reflect, drill down a little bit further on this and maybe pull it over. Oops. If you can't get the function to work as far as being able to pull this map over, this is how you do it. You just go to this little arrow and whoops, where's it gone? There. And so you want to get the panning function going. That way you can get to data that you want to get to. It's not as easy to find your own area, or at least that's what I found here. But if you really know which part of the map that you're looking for, you might be able to research something very specific to that area. So that does exist. I'm not sure that I'm so much on board with that version. I like the other one on the unincorporated Clackamas County tab. I think it's a lot more user-friendly. Okay. So that was a quick tutorial. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I wanted to point out that in the top left of our website, there's a link you can click to get to that.
Right, I did see that. Thank you. And I see a question. Are you seeing an uptick in political harassment? We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in various kinds of harassment, to include that. You know, it's been there's been a few stressful years behind us. And of course, that is going to have an effect on those kinds of incidents. But we are seeing a lot more folks that are being verbally outspoken in various different ways. And that doesn't escalate necessarily to something criminal because of our freedom of speech laws until it gets extremely aggressive and specific about, you know, someone harming another person. Yes, looks like Anada had some sort of a question.
Yeah, this is a long shot, but in Oak Grove, there's a river park, River Villa Park, and we have a group of friends of the River Villa Park, and people have been talking to me about when they live really close to the park, there's a lot of extra noise at night, people coming in late, being rowdy, or racing up the street. And I thought of you, but I also realized when you just laid out the kinds of things that are happening right now, all the thefts and all the break-ins and package stealing, that maybe it's low on the list, managing that kind of activity at the park.
It is, but it's still something that can be called in. What I would encourage you to do if it's really gotten to a point where it's escalating or there's a situation, well, if there's a situation that sounds like somebody might be in danger, or like you can hear what sounds like a very loud argument, and things seem to be escalating, it would not be wrong to call that into non-emergency, because there might be a possibility of someone being harmed. If you're just seeing a trend of people showing up every single weekend and things getting noisy and staying noisy till 2 a.m., you might want to put in a request for extra patrol. Every resident has the right to request extra patrol, and just put it exactly that way. If you can identify days of the week and times of the day when it's worst, that helps a great deal, so that we can hopefully use our resources as efficiently as possible. But you're right, it's a fairly low priority call just because our volume of call overall is so great.
Okay, but just call in the non-emergency number and ask about extra patrol.
Yes,
Great.
exactly.
Thank you very much.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank
It
you.
looks like Marilyn has her hand raised too.
And I think Richard was before me.
Oh, sorry. Missed one.
Well, I thought I was after you, but my question was, I've seen on social media people complaining about people living in motorhomes on the street and not knowing how to get rid of them. You weren't complaining about the people as much as the garbage that was accumulating around the motorhomes. Do you have any comment on how people should deal with that issue?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. There was a Ninth Circuit Court decision in 2018 that's making it things, I won't go into a lot of detail, but it's making things a little bit harder for us. We do have a no camping ordinance, which we used to be able to enforce in those kinds of situations. We are having to take a little bit of a step back from that. The violation still exists on the books. However, because of the Ninth Circuit Court decision, if we are going to move people along in those kinds of instances, we're supposed to consider that this person is going to need to find an alternative place that's equal or better than where they are, that it's a violation of their civil rights to ask them to move on, but not give them any alternative place to go. That being said, there are ways that we can work on those situations, because other things that seem to happen when you have that kind of scenario is that littering seems to often go hand in hand with that. Sometimes we have some folks that are acting out. In some cases, we can look at charges for disorderly conduct. Most of those kinds of low-level activities are going to be, possibly steered toward community court, which is more of a diversion than a penalty. So they're given options to, utilize some resources, and there are some requirements for them to fulfill in order for them to have the potential criminal charge rescinded. But it also gives folks a chance to have social services reach out to people who do need some help and possibly can be moved off the street. I know that one of the other things that I've learned over the last couple of years, because we have an increase in homeless, is I've been reaching out to a lot of the nonprofits who have the resources to reach out to these folks and see if they can assist them and hopefully help steer them toward getting off the streets altogether. But yeah, you're right. It's a challenge, and it's grown. It's everywhere in our county. So you're not alone. It's not just in Oak Grove. I'm hearing from people up on the mountain and in our rural communities. Down in Wilsonville, I even had one reported in Charbonneau. So it's a problem. But it's a problem without a clear solution at this point, but we're working on some things. Okay, Marilyn, I guess it's your turn.
Following from Anita's comment about Riverville Park, there's another problem down there that's probably difficult to solve. And that's the spontaneous celebration along the river with small fires. I go down in the morning and I see the remains of fires along the rocks and also in the wooded areas. And there are no fire pits there. It's all makeshift. I've talked to groundspeople, the county groundskeepers down there, and they say, well, what do you want us to do? And there aren't enough people to patrol at night, but there's a lot of dry grass down there. It could be potentially devastating.
Yeah, we're still in fire season. I know that we had some successes. I don't know if any of you know what Newell Creek Canyon is. It's if you are going toward Oregon City on Highway 213, you're essentially driving through a canyon. It's called Newell Creek Canyon. We have had a lot of transient or homeless folks that have been living in that canyon in the wooded areas for the last couple of years, or actually for quite a while, but we've seen a major increase in recent times. And one of the things that seemed to also increase were a lot of fires at night. And, we're still in fire season. So we have had some success reaching out to some of the nonprofits who can go and talk to these folks and make it clear that this is not something that is okay. They've also been handing out from Metro some kits that are kind of helpful. I don't know that much about the program, but they have some fire kits, or, they actually give out fire extinguishers and a couple of other items that can help battle those flames. But it's not wrong to call it in if it looks like it's something that could potentially cause a fire. I don't know if you're going to get a response necessarily, depending on the situation and where it is, but you can certainly call in non-emergency. I just don't know that it's going to be a proactive response.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Captain McClure?
Well, thank you for the for calling me captain, but I haven't been promoted that high yet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But
I thought that was what was that?
Oh, I appreciate the promotion.
What title should I be using for you then?
It's actually, I'm just officer. I'm a non-sworn.
Oh, wow.
I'm not
Okay.
a gun person. So I just do outreach.
Okay. Well, we will make sure to not mislabel your title, at least in the future agenda. So thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for Officer McClure?
And you're all welcome to reach out to me directly. I mean, that's my job. So I'm going to go ahead and put my work email in the chat. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I tend to be in and out of the office quite a bit, or wrapped up in Zoom meetings, just like tonight. So you're welcome to reach out to me if there's something that occurs to you down the road or that you didn't want to bring up with the group tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we'll make sure to share your email, your contact information with our mailing list and our follow-up newsletter. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you again, and we hope to see you again before a whole year has passed next time.
I hope so.
I'd like to see you more often than that. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again really quickly, and we have just a couple of LUART things to talk about. I do not actually have presentations for these, and so I'll just talk these through just really quickly. There have been some decisions recently. The last time, I missed the meeting last month, but the last time I saw you guys, I mentioned that there was an appeal of a partition over on Jennings Avenue, the easterly part of Jennings Avenue that's actually in the Oak Grove CPO and not the Jennings Lodge CPO. And there was an appeal on that simple two-lot partition, and I wasn't sure why, but the appeal was by the landowner, by the applicant. They didn't want to have to build improvements on the side street where their new lot would be taking access, and the hearings officer upheld the approval at the end of August. So that one was actually was approved, and the improvements will be required. The next one, we recently had a home occupation application, which is a home business application for a dog training business at the corner of Oak Grove Boulevard and Laurie Avenue. And that was approved just within the last couple of weeks. And then approved earlier this week was a mass movement hazard area development, which is it's like a landslide or an ancient landslide. And so this is on Oatkin Road, which is over the hill, kind of down towards the bottom of Thiessen where it crosses Kellogg Creek. Oatkin is down there, and so they just were adding a deck, but because it's a hazardous area, they needed to go through an extra level of review. So we do have a couple of new applications that we haven't talked about with you yet, although there's been a little bit of discussion with the LUART group. The first one that we can talk about is on Linden Lane, and it's a historic landmark major alteration is what it's called. It's really the addition of some solar panels, and the review process for that includes a meeting with the Historic Review Board to review the application and make their comments. And that meeting is open to the public, and you can watch it on Zoom and participate, submit public comment for that. That'll be on October 13th. And we actually have the applicant with us here tonight. It's Fred Sawyer. And so I'm going to stop sharing really quickly, and I'm going to ask Fred if he wants to describe just briefly what the project is, and then I can make sure everyone knows how they can submit comments at the and for the Historic Review Board. Fred, do you want to unmute yourself and say a couple words about your project?
Yes, I have two. My property is a historic landmark. It's the Simon Bingham House. And the solar panels aren't really allowed on the front of historic homes. But the rules apply to everything on my property. And I have two sheds. One is contributing to the historic landmark, and one is newer on the north edge of my property that I want to put solar panels on. And to do that, I'm basically extending the south-facing roofs to make them taller so I can put solar panels on them. And the way the rules work, almost anything, any potential alteration of a historic landmark is a major alteration. A minor operation is almost nothing. Anyway, and I think, but I don't know, and I won't be at the meeting because I'm going to be gone, that these are the rules. So you go through the process, and I got no indication in my pre-application meeting that there was any problem, but this is the rule. This is how we take care of this, and you go through the Historic Review Board. So if you have any questions.
Thanks, Fred. And I just wanted to clarify what you said. It sounded like you said that the solar panels will go on the newer shed that is not a contributing resource. Was that correct?
Both sheds.
Both sheds. Okay.
10 panels per shed.
Okay. Did anyone else want to ask any questions? I'm really sorry for not having the materials ready to present in electronic format tonight. Was there, if there is interest in seeing the materials, I can send them to you in an email. Just send an email to contact@oakgrovecpo.org. I can make sure that you get them. Jane, I see that you have a question.
Yes, Fred, I had a question for you. I know several years ago, we had an issue with solar panels on a historic house that came up. It was near the trolley trail in Arista area. And the couple who lived there wanted to put solar panels on the historic landmark and were told they couldn't do it. We all were rather appalled at, yeah, that's nice, it's historic, but we're trying to become less fossil fuel dependent. And I wonder if you feel that the county has moved at all in that respect as far as altering their rules for historic houses and energy efficiency.
Well, if it's that house on just south from me on Creighton, they moved the solar panels from the house to the garage,
Okay,
which I suspect that garage was called an alteration. So, and as I said at the beginning, solar panels are generally not allowed on the front of a historic house that you can view from the street. But they are often allowed. And the Secretary of Interior has examples of where they're allowed or not on historic landmarks for anyway, they have an example of a house where they added ADA ramps and roof on the back of the house and put solar panels. So it's primarily not allowed on the front of the house. And so I have, so this is kind of the back of the house, and you know, if you're standing in my driveway, you can see them, but if you're on Oak Grove Boulevard, you won't be able to see them. There will be kind of very.
Hey, thank you.
Valerie, you have a question?
Well, I kind of a comment. I just want to applaud Fred for working with this. I mean, I think that the issue around climate change is an important piece that we have, you know, coming into fire season and knowing about the hurricanes going on and everything that's going on in the world, that it's really important. And I'm wondering if it would be helpful if the Oak Grove Community Council could write another letter in support of however allowing modifications so that historic properties can also do the kinds of things that are energy efficient for the people who live there. I mean, I always find it really interesting. I mean, our house is 100 years old. It's not on the historic register, so you know we have solar panels. But people park, you know, modern cars in front of these historic places, and you know they add ADA ramps to the front of them, and they do other kinds of things. And yet we say no to solar panels, which would be helpful for the whole community and our world at large. So it seems like it would be an important thing to advocate for.
Well, the comment period is over for my hearing. So and maybe, so I guess my suggestion would be that if the board wanted to do something, ask LUARC to look into it and create a position for the community council. But the Secretary of Interior has kind of done that. And I assume that the county is looking to that Secretary of Interior's guidance, allowing where they allow solar panels and where they don't.
Yeah, I think just to kind of add on that a little bit, I think that this is supposed to be the year, you know, the county does this every other year where they solicit ideas from, you know, the public, from the CPOs, from everybody to, you know, try to add projects to their long range planning list. So they call it the long range planning, but it's really anything that it amounts to amending, you know, the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan. And so that would be an opportunity where when we see if they open that period for us to submit ideas, we could certainly then, you know, write a letter where that is one of the suggestions, is that they make sure that they codify, you know, legalizing the, you know, solar panels on historic landmarks. You know, that is certainly something that we could do. Greg, I see that you're raising your hand.
So when this came up with the house on Creighton, we sent letters because we were all kind of appalled that as Fred or Valerie said they're allowed to put, modern cars in front of houses and things like that, but not solar panels. We sent a letter to the county. So do we have to just put a new date on that and send it back in again, that it's time to like join the 21st century? Or the
Basically, yeah. I mean, I could certainly draw upon that letter that we've already written, and like you said, just change the letterhead and the date, and the name of the commissioners, and that's about it, right? So yeah, we could certainly do something very similar to that, and ask them. I mean, and we know that's the process. We know that we have to go back to them and ask them over and over and over and over again until they finally do it, and keep asking until they do. So it's that's okay. Just because they didn't do it a couple years ago or 4 years ago doesn't mean that they won't. There isn't more pressure to do it this now, and so I'd absolutely say that's something we should consider doing. Greg, another question? Wasn't some of the problem the Historic Review Board? Well, so the Historic Review Board is comparing, they're offering advice and comments based on the approval criteria. And so if the approval criteria very explicitly say that solar panels are, exempted or in some way exempted, under certain conditions or whatever, then they would have to base their recommendations on, whatever those approval criteria are. And so they couldn't say, well, we recommend you deny it because they did solar panels in the exact way that the code says you should do it. The county's not going to follow through on a denial like that. So that would certainly be my recommended approach, is that we try to add solar panels as an exempted to, whatever, at some parameters perhaps, but that solar panels would be exempted from the historic review. Jane, your hand is still up or up again?
What?
Oh, no, Jane had her hand raised, but I guess that was a mistake. Okay, well, thanks, Fred. Is there any, the meeting still hasn't happened, but you mentioned that the official comment period is already closed. Is there anything further that we can do to be supportive of you?
No, I just, I still, at the appropriate point, I still want to say a quick word about the McLaughlin Boulevard investment plan study that's coming up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you don't mind waiting just a few more minutes,
that's fine.
We can bring that up. And yeah, cool. Okay, thank you. Okay, I am going to share just again for one more minute. We're almost through my presentation. There was one more application out there that the comment period is already closed, but so this one is on Hill Road, and there's a church on Hill Road, and it's a church in the residential zone, the R10 zone, and churches are approved through a conditional use permit, which kind of defines the parameters of how they can operate when it's kind of an institutional use in a residential zone. Well, they're proposing to modify their conditional use approval to allow operation of a K through 8 school, Monday through Friday. And so it's kind of a big change around the parameters of what that conditional use allows. And so that was a major modification of a conditional use. The review has been very protracted. The response deadline was August 31st, and we did submit some questions from Blue Arts because it came in just after that August meeting. But we were advised that a traffic impact study will be required because of the amount of traffic that's expected to be generated by everyday school, and that once that traffic impact study is available in the application packet, and the transportation engineering division is reviewing it, will have the opportunity to submit comments on the improvements that are required as part of the conditions of approval. And so I'm not, I haven't seen the approval for this yet. I'm pretty sure that it's pending, you know, these additional conditions that need to come through after the traffic study is submitted. So I don't know where this is yet, but we should have the opportunity to comment on it, and we will absolutely keep everybody posted when we find out more. So with that, we'll move into our ABC updates. And first off, I'd like to invite Rich to provide a CERT update. Unmute yourself, Rich, and then go for it.
Okay, it unmuted finally.
There you go.
Something wasn't working. I've missed the last couple of CERT meetings because I work on Saturdays when they have meetings, but we have had meetings each month. They've done some radio training, and they've been some experimenting with a base station to try to get everybody to be able to talk to each other, and us to be able to talk to people farther away than the small radios reach. They're also doing a there's a CERT summit on the 8th of October at the Boring Fire Station. And if any of the people who are CERT members want to attend, if you go to our CERT website, or you can sign up at CERT, Clackamas County CERT Summit, sign up, genius. Or just contact me and I'll get you what it is. We also are offering, I think the 29th, they just offered a training. We offer first aid training, and that's one of the things that you need to do in order to become a CERT member. CERT, again, being community emergency response teams. We're just people who try to be ready for the various things that can happen to us: fire, water, wind, and earthquakes. So I do encourage you to become a part of it. We just had a near scare. I don't know how many people are aware that evacuations were within about 10 miles of Oak Grove. And as somebody mentioned before, we're still in the fire season, and it could happen. So that's it for CERT.
Thanks, Rich. And I think that you're actually up next with the CPO Summit update.
Okay, at the CPO Summit, I think the biggest thing that was of value to us was that CPOs are trying to get the zoning enforcement people to pay attention to complaints that come through CPOs. They've literally asked that they be given a priority, and the zoning enforcement people said that their requirements are, you know, life safety things, and they have priorities. But we're still trying to get the Board of County Commissioners to recognize the CPOs as organizations to handle zoning complaints that come through. And in the county as a whole, there's a big feeling that there isn't enough compliance people to make sure that problems that get identified get addressed. So that was the biggest thing that was coming up. There's a lot of discussion about the 205 tolling, which isn't a direct effect to us, but it's an indirect effect to us because we'll probably see more traffic on 99. There's a lot of talk. It's definitely going through. There's no question about that it's going to happen. It's already happening down in Oregon City. The big deal now is what they're doing to mitigate the problems that are created by the tolling. And in that vein, the one of the organizations that's called 4Cs is looking for people to talk to that are interested in transportation, that want to be able to go to meetings and discuss what kind of things we need to change in terms of transportation. And pretty much that's about all that comes up for us. Okay.
All right, thanks, Rich. Just one point of clarification, the project in Oregon City right now is a seismic improvements. It's not related to the tolling project.
Okay, they did say that the Abernathy Bridge work was preparation for the tolling.
Oh, I mean, they're doing seismic improvements, but it may be phased with that, but it's technically decoupled. But
yeah, bottom line was tolling is coming.
Oh yeah, it's still a few years away. Thanks, Rich. Let's see. Up next, Valerie, did you attend the EDC meeting this morning?
No, I got kidnapped by my 10-year-old granddaughter instead. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Then no update from the EDC. I'll ask Suzanne to provide an update from HDOG.
Thank you, Joseph. For those of you who may not know me, I am Suzanne Wolf, and I serve as president and secretary for Historic Downtown Oak Grove, which is also known as HDOG. We just hosted the Oak Grove Trolley Trail Festival this summer. Anyway, this evening I have 2 announcements and 1 request I would like to make of the council members. The first announcement is that the HDOG general meeting for this month is tomorrow. If you're interested in going, the meeting is being held at Awakening, and it starts at 2 o'clock. And there's just about 4 things on the agenda. Annika is going to give us some information about the new urban park, and also too, I will be sharing information or a summary of the Trolley Trail Festival debrief, as well as the vendor survey that had went out. And then we want to make sure there's going to be enough time to talk more about the upcoming Halloween event. And also too, we want to talk about the hosting potentially a Christmas event. So that's the meeting for tomorrow. And the second announcement I would like to make with the council is that HDOG, in partnership with the Oak Grove United Methodist Church, is hosting a Halloween event. The Halloween event will be our first trunk or treat. And this event will take place on a Sunday, October 30th, between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Let's see here. Oh yeah. The sponsors who choose to participate in this event will be responsible for providing and also to passing out candy or treats, or both if they would like. Also too, they will be responsible for decorating the trunk of their car, and if they choose to wear a costume. And let's see here, Awakening Coffee, it will have a parking space. They will be providing hot chocolate and cider. The church will be holding a memorial candle lighting and also accepting donations of baby wipes or what they call sanitizing wipes for the needy of the Love One Milwaukee organization. We have had in the past over 250 children and families, and so we're expecting even more this year. And let's see, we would like to invite the Oak Grove Community Council to participate. This will be an opportunity for you to highlight your organization as well as support the local cause, which is the Love One Milwaukee. Finally, if the council chooses to participate, there are 24 places or spaces in the parking lot. And so we suggest that you sign up as soon as you can. The deadline date to do that is October 16th. Okay, that's the second announcement. And with that, I would like to make a request to the council members. H-Dog would like to ask the council members to consider a $250 donation to help us meet our expenses for this year. You have supported us with the summer festival, and we would appreciate your continued support with this event as well. Okay, that's all for now.
Thank you, Suzanne. And so with respect to any kind of financial support, is there are you in need of any kind of that cash infusion, like by a certain deadline for it to be helpful? Or is this something that we could say if we talked about it as a board next week, and then we came back to our October meeting on the 24th, I believe it is, would that be too late to be helpful, or would that still be helpful if we came back with a motion to make a donation at the end of October?
Let's see. I think it will be doable for you to make a donation as late as the 24th. We have we have funds in our account that we have for administrative purposes, and so we can use part of those funds to make the necessary purchases that we need to prior to the 24th. But then your donation then can be added to our account to cover our administrative costs at a later time.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you for that. So I just want to let everyone know that we did have the treasurer's report earlier that said what our current balance is, and so we certainly have the funds to cover the requested donation. If that's something that we want to have a motion about and vote on tonight, that's totally cool. And as Suzanne advised, if that's something that we wanted to wait and see after our board meeting and our board has a chance to discuss this and what we feel like might be comfortable as a donation, and then come back to you next month, that would be fine too, is what Suzanne is saying. And so I just wanted to clarify that, so that if there was interest in doing a motion right now, that we know that's okay, but also if there's a little bit of hesitance, we can wait and see what ends up being best next month. So I'll just leave the floor open for a second, and if anyone wants to make a motion, feel free. Valerie?
I'd like to move that we wait to vote on it until next month and let the board talk about it with finances, because there are some other things that are coming up, so that we have a chance. And this adjunct to that is to remind people that without in-person meetings, we are not getting donations. So there's 18 of us that are here right now. And if we don't make donations, that money doesn't, it doesn't do anything. So, and we want to be able to continue to be supportive of things like the trolley trail and Christmas stuff, and this is a good project too that we wanted, but I would like us to really take a look at our finances and also to encourage people to donate, so that we can do this with a little more, with less hesitancy. I guess I want to say that.
Okay. I don't know that we necessarily need a motion unless it's contentious to wait. And so I'll just leave that out there, that we don't necessarily have to vote if the goal is to wait. But if we want to make a payment tonight, then we would definitely want a motion. Okay, it sounds like we'll wait. We'll have a discussion about our finances and make sure we're making a good, healthy decision, Suzanne. And I'll be back in touch with you as soon as I have some direction from my board.
Very good. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Thank you for your update. And let's see, we've already heard from Oak Lodge Water Services tonight. I don't think that we have any more updates. Is that correct, Sarah Jo? Okay, very good. Then next up is Anita with North Clackamas Parks and Rec and or the library.
Okay, I think I'll just talk about the library tonight because I'm also involved in that. And then it's not such a long-winded thing. The new Oak Lodge Library that's being planned has much of its funding in hand already, but it does need additional funds. And what residents are looking at is the 81 million one-time American Rescue Plan Act funds that Clackamas County has received and that are still in play. And what's really, you know, what you said earlier, Joseph, you said we ask over and over and over and over again. And here's another situation that would really benefit from that over and over again, so that the county commissioners not just hear from us once, but hear from us on a continuous basis. And there are 4 things you can do to support the commissioners prioritizing funding for the new library. And the easiest thing is to go to the library, find one of these cards at the checkout desk and fill it out and put it in the box there. You just put your name, your zip code, and one sentence or one phrase about why you support the library funding or feel that the library is important. So that's the easiest thing. And the biggest bang you can get is to testify in person before the BCC on a Thursday morning when they have public comment period. And the next runner-up biggest bang thing is to testify over Zoom before the BCC on a Thursday morning. And you can testify with 2 sentences, or it can be a message that takes up to 3 minutes. Writing letters to the commissioners is also good. And last time we had a meeting here, we voted to express our support for adequate library funding to the BCC. And thank you, Joseph, for writing and sending that letter on behalf of us. On the recent 2 Thursdays, where there was a meeting with public comment, a total of 16 people, including Mark Elliott and Thelma and Suzanne, testified in support of the library. And Jane and I were there in attendance in solidarity. You can't have the same people testify over and over and over again. You have to get new people. So sometimes it's just good to show up, even if you don't testify. And numerous people have written letters and people have been filling out the yellow cards. So whether you live in the Leading Library District, which is Rose Villa and Willamette View and Valerie's neighborhood, or you live in the Oak Lodge District, you still benefit from the new Oak Lodge Library because the lending collection is shared amongst all the libraries. And there will be more space for classes in the new library, more space for meetings, and numerous cultural events that the current Oak Lodge Library can't host in its rental building. So funding decisions are likely to be made in the next few weeks. So it's important right now to continue to say over and over and over again what our message is.
Thank you, Anita. And then I think that's all of our committee updates, except that I will be giving an update on the Pedestrian Bikeway Advisory Committee, and then I'll be asking Fred to supplement that because Fred wanted to mention the McLaughlin Boulevard improvements project, I think it is. The ODOT is allocating some money to safety improvements, specifically, it's focused on, pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements along McLaughlin, but I'll let Fred talk about that a little bit. The Pedestrian Bikeway Advisory Committee update is that not really anything new to share, except that the Walk Bike Clackamas plan did seat its advisory committee, and so that project should start moving forward pretty quickly. And and again, that's a plan that's like the first plan in 20 years to update the network of pedestrian and bicycle facilities in the county, and define kind of standards and for what types of facilities belong where. And anyways, that as that proceeds, I will provide more information on that in this venue. Fred, did you want to talk about the McLaughlin Boulevard project?
A year or two ago, at my suggestion, the Oak Grove Community Council supported safety improvements along McLaughlin's. We were hoping to get a project, but we got in the next year or so, they're going to do a public outreach plan with Zoom meetings for McLaughlin investment plan. So we get a planning instead of a project. I'd rather see that money go to sidewalks than planning, but you may realize that ODOT's finances have kind of hit pretty hard by the pandemic. And so, but anyway, so and at that time, I made a motion, and I and other people and the community council supported my motion to ask for essentially complete the sidewalks from McLaughlin, combine combine three close together bus stops, and add pedestrian islands basically near the Bomber, kind of south of Courtney, a block or two, and between combined just south of Silverleaf. So that's what I see needed. Is we've had a bad history of pedestrian accidents at unsignalized intersections. So one alternative is to move the bus stop to a mid-block and put a pet island like we have in front of the library. Anyway, so they're going to do this big planning process. We should also ask for that process tree line boulevard along McLaughlin. So anyway, that will be happening over next year. But anyway, I just wanted to people be aware of that's coming down the path. And Ed Gronick of Jennings Lodge is on the steering committee or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Yeah, the project has what they're calling in this case is a community sounding board, and I was invited as chair of the Oak Grove Community Council. Valerie was invited as the chair of the Park Avenue community project. I saw that Ed was invited as the chair of the Jennings Lodge, or acting chair of the Jennings Lodge CPO. And I think that Selma was invited as well. But in any event, there's pretty good coverage of people quite well who have been involved in the McLaughlin area planning projects and other advocacy that are involved in the community sounding board. So we should be able to keep close tabs on this project and provide regular updates as things develop, and we'll keep everybody informed. Mark, did you have a question?
So yeah, there obviously we all see that there's some activity going on as far as curb cuts and so on along McLaughlin, but as I understand, that does not include any signaling. It's just simply updating curb cuts for handicap accessibility. Is that everybody's understanding? I'm just I'm happy that's happening, but at the same time, I wouldn't encourage anyone on a wheelchair to try to cross McLaughlin, unless it was a signal position.
There's basically a court ruling a few years ago that found everybody out of compliance with the ADA for not having curb ramps, and so there's a lot of funding going in. All jurisdictions are going in and doing retrofits, and so Clackamas County already did Oak Grove Boulevard. You may recall last year, or the year before, Oak Grove Boulevard had all new curb ramps put in, and I guess now with ODOT's doing some of that on McLaughlin Boulevard now. But yeah, this will be ongoing work for a long time, and I think that if I remember correctly, with the current amount of funding, it'll take the county about 72 years to bring up to standards. So more funding is needed to make sure that we get compliant with that court ruling before 72 years. But yeah, so anyway, that's what's going on with that. And yeah, it's really just the curb ramps, and that's all that's included in that particular work. Okay, so I think that is actually it for committee updates. We do have a few open current recruitments for ABCs in the county, and so I will share just really quickly to talk about this. We're way over at this point, but the Emergency Medical Services Council is open through next week. Mental Health and Addictions Council is open through the end of this week. Timber Sale Advisory Committee is open through the end of this week, and then a couple more weeks on the Traffic Safety Commission, which is a really influential committee. And if you are interested in being involved in a really influential committee that advises the county board on and county transportation division on traffic safety, the Traffic Safety Commission is it's a large committee, and they're actually pretty well listened to in terms of the different ABCs at the county. So with that, are there any announcements from the floor? Sharing so we can see. Doesn't look like anyone has any. Oh, there you go, Thelma, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to make some notes here. The Oak Lodge History Detectives, we've got some things going on at the Concord School now that the Parks District has basically started letting space out. So Oak Lodge History Detectives are having first of their in-person meetings in a long, long time. And it'll be on October 13th. I'm not sure of all of these dates, but they're all in the October newsletter. So they're going to have, at their meeting, they're concentrating on the first schools markers, which is a new project that they're taking on, and they're selling History Detective t-shirts for $20 to gain money to put these markers where our first schools were. And then there also is going to be a games day. I think it's on a Sunday. I don't have the date in front of me. That's coming up at the school where people can go and play games. From the looks of it, most of them are like computer games. I'm probably, they're not playing Parcheesi, so I'm probably not going to be there. That's one of my favorite games. But they are doing games night or games day. I think it's more, I don't know. I wrote it down, but I don't have it memorized. And then in November, there is a new thing going on at the place on Chestnut, the facility that is a meeting and event facility on Chestnut Boulevard. And it's a dinner murder mystery, and it's in November. So that's coming up. And then on October 11th, they're doing a sign dedication at the site of the Gladstone Library, where they've taken or are taking down the old City Hall building. So those are just some of the things that are new and different and interesting that are in the newsletter.
Awesome. Thanks, Velma. Anna, I see your hand is raised.
I forgot to say one thing about these yellow cards. When you go to the library to sign one of them, you can grab a bunch of them and take them to, let's say, if you were a member of the Elks Club or you have neighbors that might want to sign them, just take a bunch with you and have your friends and family and neighbors sign them and then take them back to the library.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other announcements before we're done? Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Let's show our upcoming meeting dates really quick. Next up is we have a board meeting next week, and then next month on October 26th, I think I said the 24th earlier, the 26th will be our meeting, and we will have a presentation from the Clackamas County Arts Alliance that night. And so that is it, everybody. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us tonight, and we hope to see you again next month. Valerie, you can stop recording.
Thank you.